Hello everybody, this is Gosia from Cosmic Agency, and we are here with a new episode of the monthly recaps, monthly recap in singular, which is a recap of different important space news that were mentioned in the last month in the channel called Swaruu Oficial, which is Mari Swaruu's channel. Where she publishes videos every single day in English and in Spanish for almost 2 years, and this is for the new people, and she's an extraterrestrial person, Taigetan Pleiadian, and now Taigetan Pleiadian Queen, and making these videos directly from the ship. So I suggest you watch her videos to see more details about any of these subjects. But every month I'm going to do the recap of the most important piece of information, of news covered there. I'm making this video here with a camera that I usually do not record this with, and this is because my regular camera, when we were in Turkey with Matthias, it kind of broke. It doesn't work properly, so I think I have to have a new camera, and I'm recording this with an Insta action camera, so I'm not sure how it's going to be. But it is what it is. At least I have another camera to do this with. Okay, now stay tuned, because at the end of this video I'm going to actually share with you what Yaski told me about these red ribbons that I found in the forest. If you want to know what this is about, you have to watch the 2 previous videos in the Yaski series, okay? So stay tuned and you'll see if this is really something that she did or she didn't, because surprisingly she gave me her answer on this. But let's start first with some very important news. And this is very important. It's important for them as it is for us. And that is the new Urma Pleiadian treaty. On the 1st of September, Mari and King Rur, who is a Urma king, convened to have a meeting of the Council of Alcyone and Urmahs. And this is to sign a new treaty between them. And this is new because the Taigetas already had the treaty with the Urmahs, and this is to extend this treaty. A little over a year ago, Queen Alonim, and this was in Mari's videos, Queen Alonim signed a cooperation treaty with the Urmahs, between Taigetans and Urmahs. But this time, this new treaty is covering all the Pleiadian races, because Alcyone Council is the one that represents and speaks for all the Pleiadian races. Well, actually, not all. I will explain which ones. This was done in remote presence, so everybody was there representing their respective race, but not physically. This is usually how it is done. It's easier, more practical, and is much more safe in some of these situations. 10 races of the Pleiades, except for Taigeta and Urmahs, were present in this great hall of the Great Council of Iena in Alcyone. Iena, and Iena, that's a race, supposedly, well, yeah, in the Pleiades, but they are kind of a local. They are, which I thought was something more of higher realm sort of a being, but here, as Yaski explained in the previous video conversation with Yaski, they can have their physical form, and they can have their physical counterparts and incarnation. It's kind of like Amelie in Cendrillon, where they are these higher elevated beings, but they are also physical if they want to be, or if they want to incarnate as Pleiadians. And actually many of them do incarnate as Taigetans, for example. And this brings me to the little curious fact, and that is the first ever conversation with Swaruu Oficial that I had in 2017. I was not alone in that conversation. I was introduced by the elder lady to Swaruu Oficial, and in that first conversation I asked Swaruu about my cosmic origin, even though I don't like to say that word origin, because we don't originate there, just in one race. We are the source, and we are always jumping here and there. But I did ask because at that time they were actually encouraged by their terrestrial contact to be giving away the stellar identity to their star seeds that they were in contact with. So that was the first topic of the conversation, one of. And surprisingly, and as a curious fact here, the first thing that she told me, she actually told me Yena, that I was from there, from that area. Yena, thread in my aura or something. And it doesn't contradict what they later told me about being in a Taigetan immersion, because as I said in the beginning, a lot of Yenas actually incarnate to be Taigetans. And then you can be an Antarian, and you can be this and that. So you can see a lot of those, a lot of that journey in your soul if you are reading that person. Of course, it's not very reliable. As they now like to say, that kind of reading is not very reliable. But anyway, in the beginning, that's what she saw, Yena. And going back to the treaty, 10 different, like I said, races, Pleiadian races, except for Taygeta, were present, but not all. And that is because there are a lot of races there in the Pleiades, 24 of them that are not industrial even. They are in their pre-industrial stage of so-called evolution. They are not interstellar small civilizations, and those did not participate in those in that meeting, and they didn't know anything about the treaty. Now, purpose of this treaty is different things, exchange of crops, the exchange of information, exploration information, exchange of new frequency star maps and other maps, more traditional maps, technological cooperation, barter, trade, all these different things that always come up when you are doing a treaty with another culture, another race. But, and this is most important, the biggest reason for this treaty is mutual protection. Protection. This is to protect members against any threats coming from the, now we know them to be sinister layers within the Federation, out of the Federation, wherever. And this is not to be aggressive or violent or attack anybody. It is not an indication of war in any sense. It is signed as protection. Lately, like I said, over a year ago, the treaties have been signed between Urmahs and Taygeta, commercial and military treaties, but not with the whole M45. And here, as Mari explains, the whole Pleiades were involved and were included because they were made to understand that the threat, if there is any threat coming towards Taygeta, it's not just going to affect Taygeta, but actually whoever is going after Taygeta, and we know very well, it's a long story, that Taygeta has been a target for the Cabal, which is a puppet of the Federation for a long time. It goes back all the way to Nazis, etc., and probably even way back. So, as Mari here explained to the races, the Taygeta is not the end, is not the target of that Cabal Federation, but it's only as a starting point to expand into the M45 Pleiades. Again, it's a long story why, but basically they want to spread across the whole Pleiadian system. And that's why this does affect other Pleiadian races, and that's why they understood that this is important to sign this treaty among all of them to protect themselves. One of the reasons why they view Taygeta as a starting point, as Mari explained here as well, is simply because the Taygetans are among the most active ones around Earth. So if they are here, they are more vulnerable and easy to access and easy to infiltrate. And then through the Taygetans, you can spread your tentacles around other Pleiadian cultures. That's why this treaty between all the races of M45. Enough of this, enough of these invasion attempts and all that, infiltrations, attacks. This is to protect the members. If anybody attacks one of these races, it's basically to attack them all. They are all going to stand up and defend themselves. And Mari here admits that since she became queen, yes, that they have been militarizing. But this is for this reason. We just had an attempt on Queen Alanim's life, for example. So they need to be defending themselves, and that is because they have been realizing more and more the dark aspects of the Federation, not transparent aspects of the Federation, very suspicious and sinister, shadowy groups within the Federation, and that's what this treaty is for. Just to mention, before 2017, before Alanim came to power, Taygeta was a military force as well. They were very heavily militarized, but it was kind of on a different side of things because they were cooperating more with the Federation at that time. They were not aware yet of all these different things happening. It's also, we have a video on this. Why didn't Taygeta know before about what they are discovering now? So they were militarized before, but they were more like Centauri now. They are more in service of the Federation, and now it's basically to protect themselves and defend themselves against any possible aggressors. All the races, according to Mari, signed the treaty with enthusiasm and happy. The whole meeting lasted 4 hours. The whole signing procedures lasted 4 hours. The treaties were signed in different languages. It usually is signed in the language of the race that is involved. So in this case, it was Urma, Taygetan, and Iena. And Iena is a language of the Pleiades, sort of an English of the Pleiades. And outside of Pleiades, as far as I know, it's Andromedan. So this is very big because it does affect Earth. It affects them, but it also affects us because everything is here connected. As we know, what happens in space affects Earth. What happens on Earth affects space. And now the dark ones, whoever is out there, controlling things from behind. As for the affairs on Earth and out of Earth, will think twice before implementing any of these evil schemes, because now they know they have these conglomerate of races that is piling up against them to protect themselves and to try to clean the ranks of the dirty Federation. And talking about allies and recruiting other races and growing conglomerate of races, well, now we also have Altarians who want to join this alliance. Antarians, not Altarians. Antarians do not belong to the Pleiades, so it's a bit more complicated. Urmahs, well, they do not belong to the Pleiades, but they do have one of their feline races is in Pleiades, so they do have their connection there. But Antarians don't. So Mari, of course, said, yes, it is. We are going to welcome you to our group, but we have to discuss this, and we have to have another meeting, and we're going to have to talk about all these different points, because it complicates a little bit the situation, the different galactic laws. As far as galactic laws go, also it means a greater expansion, very clear, direct expansion of the influence of the Alcyone Council and the Urma across space, which is something that the Federation on a higher level could see as a potential threat to their interest, which it is. Again, this treaty has not been signed in any malicious way to be attacking anybody or anything like that. It is not with the intention of going to war with anybody, but it is to protect, and through that, it is going against the interests of the shady parts of the Federation. Because, like I said, now they will be considering twice before implementing anything super dark here, because they know they have the eyes of so many of all these races on them. So, going back to the Antaria, Nidia of Antaria, who is a representative and the ambassador for the Antaria, she expressed the desire to join. They were welcome, but another meeting had to be organized. Now, before I go into that other meeting, which already happened, I want to say what the Galactic Federation's response was to this new treaty. Well, in the beginning, there was no response. But then, a few days later, apparently, they sent a message, again, a very unclear, shady, not having any specific origin, a message to Urmahs, to King Rur, and to Mari, saying just one sentence. And in that one sentence, they say, "Is your new treaty with the Urma a declaration of war?" Again, there was no one to respond to. So it wasn't possible to respond directly to any of them. Rur responded with the one sentence as well, only if the Galactic Federation sees it that way. That was his answer, and he sent his message through the local Viera representatives, which again, we don't know where it's going after that. Mari did not respond. Now another meeting happened to do with the Antarian representative. It happened in the same place, Great Hall of Jena, Alcyone Council, and it was understood that any other race could participate as well. It was open, they are transparent. So Mari explains that for some reason, and they don't know how exactly, but 2 Centauri representatives got dragged along, and they supposedly accompanied Nidia of Antaria, basically 2 Galactic Federation agents. And why the agents? Well, because, as Mari explains, in the beginning of the meeting, the treaty was explained to Nidia. So the participants of the meeting were trying to explain the points to Nidia of the treaty. And then Centauri started asking all these disqualifying questions, basically saying that all this treaty is useless, stupid, and basically also dangerous. So Mari tried to explain, give her opinion on this and why the treaty is important, but the Centauri didn't want to shut up. They just kept going on and on about the Federation and how this is endangering the unity of the Federation. That's the most important thing of all. So basically all this thing turned into the pro-Galactic Federation conference. None of the races dared to say anything except for King Rur and the Urma, and he only got up and he said, whoa, he shouted one sentence, and that was, "Get the hell out of here." And that's when the meeting ended. The remote presence systems were shut off, and the meeting was adjourned to another date. No one knows when, though. I don't know if it happened or not, because Mari said they don't want to say, because they don't want, again, to risk the meeting, having other spies coming from the Federation. So I'm pretty sure that Mari is going to talk about this meeting soon. So this is it. This is on the topic of the treaties. We know that there are other members already expressing, someone from Sirius. I didn't have a chance to ask anybody about this yet, about this mysterious Sirius person. Syrian, is it Sirius? Someone from Sirius 1. I'm not sure. I didn't have a chance to ask yet because, well, I was gone for like 12 days. We were on vacation, and then we didn't talk at that time. They also respect our time when this happens, when we are away, and they also were busy themselves and still are. Athena, for example, I don't know if I can say this, so I'm not going to say much, but I know she's on a long mission, flying mission somewhere. It's a long distance thing, so she's not around. So I didn't have a chance to ask any of these clarifying questions, like, for example, who is this person from Sirius that Mari enigmatically mentioned? But it's good to know, good to hear that this is reaching other races, and other members of the galactic community are listening and paying attention. So let's go now to the next piece of news, and that is Orion Grays. And Mari is reporting that there is this enhanced activity of Orion Grays in and off Earth. As we know, the topic of grays, that's complicated and confusing because there's just so many different types of grays. They basically specify that there are 165 different types of grays, of which the most important ones are the Zetas of Zeta Reticuli, and they are the famous gardeners who are actually like custodians of biology, and they are positive, even though some of their methods may not seem so positive, so they can be pretty scary as well, but generally they are positive. Then we have tall grays, Maitre, who, that word, by the way, maitre, it means master, so they refer to themselves as a master gray race. So Mari explains that after Centauri, the Orion Grays are the most numerous race right now. They are just everywhere, and they are complaining that Tibetans have all these restrictions, while the Grays are just allowed to roam free and have all these activities. And apparently, Galactic Federation is excusing them, saying that that's normal and that these are Zetas, not regressive Orions. These are Zetas, custodians of terrestrial biology. But apparently, Tibetans are reporting that the activity of Zetas is very low right now. And in the last piece of news, Mari shared that actually there is no one Zeta ship that they identified in the last weeks. And that's very worrying. So why is the Federation saying that these are Zetas? What Tibetans are saying is that Orion Gray ships are leaving Earth, moving around Earth, are passing as Zetas. They are using their transponders, which is like an equivalent in human term of their identity-giving devices on their ships. They are giving out erroneous identity. And these are not Zeta's ships. They are gray Orions, regressive ones inside, basically passing off, disguising themselves as Zetas. So Tibetans are saying, if we can detect it, why can't the Federation detect it? For sure they can. And that means that they are lying. So again, this adds to the basket of lies and incongruency and strange behavior on the part of the Galactic Federation. Now, see these two videos if you want to deepen the subjects of the Grays. Mari here made two videos on this subject, because we also have Atorthans, and Atorthans are like great overlords of all the Grays, and they are part of the Galactic Federation, very important part of the Galactic Federation. So it's all connected, it's all very strange. And Mari is saying that if they are allowed to fly around, we don't know how much they are allowed. They could be passing off as Zetas, abducting people. So they would be abducting people as those little gardeners, but the intention would be different. People would not be able to tell the difference because, as I was explained before, there isn't much difference actually in their methods. So people wouldn't know if it's a Zeta or if it's not a Zeta. So it will be very easy for them to pass as Zetas during those abductions. Also, we made a video on abductions. This is done by Aneka, and Aneka is explaining here different reasons for abductions, how they are done, etc., etc. If you want to know more about this subject. This whole subject of disguising yourself as something else, as another race, is generally disturbing, because Mari says we don't know who we are sharing our space here with. With who is our neighbor here, with whom we are flying by, and what their intentions are, because as they say, they cannot trust those identity transporters devices anymore. So it's all very, very strange. And again, it suggests something dark is going on with the Galactic Federation permissiveness, at least, if not cooperation. And if the Galactic Federation is cooperating here, well, this would also mean that it is favoring the Orion Grays even over reptilians. Mari explains also in one of her space news videos that the way Galactic Federation treats reptilians is a bit different. They are trying to contain them on Earth, just as they are trying to contain Earth humans on Earth, so they don't spread around. But they are not having the same approach toward those Orion Grays. Basically, that's what Centauri Black Knights are for when they're hovering 100 kilometers over sea towards the land, trying to enforce this blockade against the reptilians. But the Orion Grays, they seem to have a different treatment here. And of course, with their overlords, Atorthans is kind of understood why that would be. So strange things are happening, and as Mari explains, it seems that the Orion Grays are dominating this area. right now using different power structures on Earth and off. And that is why Mari and Ur are joining and recruiting allies. As Yaski said, it's not even recruitment. They are kind of like coming on themselves. They are being attracted like a magnet by Mari, by what she's doing and what King Rur is doing with her. So that's why this alliance hopefully can grow. And as an important point to finish with, this is not to eliminate the Galactic Federation, because many people always say, oh, destroy the Galactic Federation, dismantle it, finish, send it off somewhere. No, the Galactic Federation has its purpose and has its place, just as any alliance. Like if this alliance now between Urmahs and Pleiadians was infiltrated or dominated by the regressive races, well then it's not the fault of the alliance itself. I would believe it's just the elements within that are corrupting it and its operations. So what Mari is trying to do and other joining her races is to clean, to try to attempt at least and to clean those dirty ranks of the Galactic Federation. But the Federation has its place and is an important organization. It's even the Taigetans themselves form part of the Galactic Federation, but it just has to be in different hands. It has to be rid of all these dark elements that are running it right now and have been running it probably for a very long time. So let's see how this develops. Now the new year almost is coming because time is flying. 2025 also, let's see if that year brings anything new and interesting. Swaruu years ago in the beginning said that in 2025 everything will be unrecognizable as it was then. And of course I don't want to take these words as some kind of a prediction or prophecy, because they don't like to be talking that way. It's not how it is. This is what she was seeing in that moment out of the mishmash of all these different possibilities presented at that time. But as we know, this is all changing and swifting. No, that's not exist. Swifting, changing and intermeshing and overlapping all the time. And who knows what's going to happen? But the solar maximum is also coming. So let's see what happens. I'm going to finish here. I'm glad I was able to do this in less than half an hour. And now to finish off, I'm going to tell you what Yaski told me about the red ribbons that I found in the forest. So I asked her directly, even though normally they don't like to reveal much if it was them or not them, different things. But this time, surprisingly, she did respond directly, and her answer was naturally. That it was naturally her. Now, I don't want to go more into this because, as she told me herself, she cannot go into certain subjects in details. Even, the Federation has their eyes everywhere, who knows. But she did say that she basically did it herself. That she put one of these ribbons, each one of them, one by one, on every tree. So what I did when I heard that, I went back to that place and the ribbons were still there. And I brought 2 of them back. So I have them. They are like hard paper. It's not a fabric. It's like some kind of hard paper. They are the same length. Now I'm thinking, I have to ask Yaski. I didn't get a chance to ask yet. Are these ribbons the one that she brought from the ship? Because I don't see how she would be just, here and go into the store, and she had to bring them with her. And that means these are the objects from Savvy Leia. Amazing. So I have to ask that. I took them because I want to have it as a symbol as of Yaski. It's like each time I see them here in my flat, I'm going to put them one in the bedroom, one somewhere here. and it's going to just give me that sense of Yasky. I don't know if the word is protection, or because it's just a reminder of the presence of the strength of Yasky. You know, like the friendship bracelets that people have. You know, I was even considering having like as a bracelet, but I think I'm just gonna have it somewhere around the house, and each time I see it, it's just gonna remind me of her. So that's really cool. And thank you, Yasky, for doing this, for this effort. This is where she goes, where Wally disappears, as Mari herself says. Where is Wally? She goes and disappears for many hours. Well, apparently, these are some of the things that she does. Thank you. That's all I can say. And yeah, I think I asked Robert if he wants one. He said yes. I'm gonna have to go back there, see if they are still there. So that's it. In the next video, I'm going to share with you the anecdotes. These are like the last sections of Yasky series. I think it's going to be just in one video. Yasky anecdotes, different anecdotes from the past, maybe something new as well. And then I'm gonna shift my attention to other subjects too. Like for example, I have in my mind starting working on this on several videos. I think it's going to be on the topic of Egypt, and it's going to be a lot of people there involved. Athena as the main one, because about a year ago or so we started developing this subject, Egypt. But then I started uncovering other conversations from other people about the subject on Egypt. So I'm going to add that too, and it's going to be like a bit quite bulky one video or probably several on the topic of Egypt. Very interesting, and other stuff. I have to continue with the interstellar series, of course. Bunch of fascinating information there on the topic of starships as well. So that's it for now. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this until this point. Let's continue watching the videos and supporting Mari's channel also, especially because there's just direct information there coming almost every day. I say almost because in English it's not every day, directly from the extraterrestrial person herself. Thank you, guys. Greetings, and I'm going to see you next in a video very soon. Bye bye.